Radio Voces Latinas, 1610 AM. A drink of water with Joyce, Aldrich. Refresh your mind.
Good evening. It is 25 degrees at 8:01 here at CHHA 1610. Oh my gosh, last Tuesday it was 1 degree at 8:01. So, wow, what a nice change. We're finally into spring and it's May 1st. And I'd like to do a shout out to my daughter-in-law, Jean. Happy birthday! And she just, she and my son just gave me a beautiful baby granddaughter 4 weeks ago. Tonight in studio I have a wonderful singer-songwriter. She is called X.ARI, and she's from Toronto, currently living in Los Angeles, and her motto is to turn pain into power, using art to do so. She is a songstress that definitely defies everything that she does, actually. She's an amazing pop artist, from gritty hip-hop to electronic music, and you're going to hear her music tonight, and you're also going to hear her story, because today is the first day of Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're so honored to have her in studio. Here is a song by X.ARI, Daniella Waters, Cattle Call.
You say that you wanna run, you gotta do what you do to get it done. You've been blowing up your gun, but I only wanna have a little fun. You bang your feet when you're running up and down the street. Don't hang with me, your dream keeping you busy. When you get this way, you forget me. Yeah, you forget me. Going all night, the world gon' fade, but a girl can't wait. I'm out of God's now, got no game to be played out. 'Cause you run till we run out. Yeah, we run till we run out. You say you gotta go this way. You've been grinding money on your plate, and I don't ever wanna stray, but I'm hanging on a thread about to break. You bang your feet when you're getting up and down concrete. Don't sing with me, your dream keeping you hungry. When you get this way, you forget me. Yeah, you forget me. Going on out, the world gon' fade, but a girl can't wait. I'm out of God's now, got no game to be played out. 'Cause you run till we run out. Yeah, we run till we run out. I'm out of God's now, got no game to be played out. 'Cause you run till we run out. Yeah, we run till we run out. Run to the cattle call. Single line on the public wall. Run till we run out. But a girl can't wait. I'm out of God's now, got no game to be played out. 'Cause you run till we run out. Yeah, we run till we run out. I'm out of God's now, got no game to be played out. 'Cause you run till we run out. Yeah, we run till we run out.
And that's Cattle Call by X.ARI, and formerly known as Daniella Waters, still known as Daniella Waters. So you changed your name to X.ARI, and come on in. Yeah,
I did. I felt like when I created a new sound and found a new brand for myself as an artist, that it required a change. So I went to the name Ari originally, which in Hebrew means lion.
That's right.
And in Nordic means eagle. And I almost drowned as a kid, which is definitely a traumatic experience in my past. And I feel like a land and a sky animal more than anything. And I love the empowerment feeling you have when you think of a lion and an eagle. And I put the X in front recently. To be really honest, it was because people couldn't find me online. There's so many other Aris. And so I thought, what am I going to do here? And then I put the X in front, and I decided it's going to be for the X chromosome because it's something everybody has in common.
That is so deep and so beautiful, and that is who you are, really. Because I'm just looking at your website, and they talk about it talks about your visceral lyrics. They transmit messages of hope, often as they ponder tragedy, and her sound comes to life in the middle. And it's so much to ponder, to think about, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, because you do have a story, and your music elicits that. Your message is in your music as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I do something what I call channeling pain into power, and I kicked off the campaign in October with the release of the song you just heard, Cattle Call.
Right. And
I thought it was a perfect Halloween kind of creepy track. It was my first time trying Screamo out, which is so new to me, and so cathartic.
What is that anyways? Like a primal scream?
I guess so,
like
yeah.
In music? Or?
I would call it a scream or screamo, but I don't do screamo music. I just have started playing with it in my songs, and it actually happened so organically at a show, and I love music because it's organic. And I was at a show in Los Angeles, I don't know when it was, maybe September, and I just did it. Like I screamed in the mic, and people were like, what was that? And it went, really translated, and I felt like, wow, that felt amazing.
Yeah.
It connected. It happened accidentally. I've been thinking about it. I did it. Now it's time to put that in my music and really use it as a catharsis. It connects very much with my messaging, but really what it does is it makes me feel like I'm letting it all out. And being on stage is one of those few places, I'm sure you know too.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about mental health tonight, especially, and your music, and you, of course, because you're a marvelous artist. And we are not our mental health. Like I've shared with our listeners that I have borderline personality disorder and clinical depression and PTSD, and heck, here I am on air doing what comes naturally.
Yeah.
Sometimes I talk into this mic and there's nobody there except for maybe 50,000 people listening. And it's like, oh, it's the best. So when you're on stage, it's like,
we're doing the exact same thing, Joyce. Like, we found our medium to connect with people and share our message and let people know they're not alone, let them know that we're going through something at the same time. And if we communicate this, the more people who know that there's people who struggle, and we can be as open as possible, the less the stigma will be, the more the world can unite and accept everybody in it and just spread love. And hopefully we can, at the same time, with this awareness, and better improve our programs that are available. And that's why I really vouch for jack.org. And,
Now tell us about jack.org, because the money from your concerts for let me see now. You'll have to help me with this now. A lot from your Disorder
Yes.
EP are going to jack.org. And, I have the same feeling to you. I have great heart and empathy for the kids on the street, especially the ones who are suffering from mental illness, and for any kid, young. The younger they are, it's very young, and people don't notice it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to hear your story too, so let's talk about jack.org first, though.
Okay, so getting into the EP with Disorder, the reason I separate the word into two is because I really believe we don't have to be limited by our mental illnesses.
Right.
We can find a way to own it, to channel it into something, turn it into something meaningful for us. So that's why I titled it Disorder, because disorder means disorganized order. And if you separate it, you can try to find your order again.
Right.
It's not as simple as that, but it's about really knowing that you don't have to be defined by any label. You don't have to feel that you can't do something because you have a label and a medication you might need to take. As long as you're taking care of yourself and you can liberate yourself and you can really accept and embrace yourself as you are and work on yourself as best as possible, that's all we can do. And
Absolutely.
Why I vouch for CHHA.org, like, they're not asking me to at all. I've been asking them, like, how can I help? How can I get involved? And like they've been so responsive to how much attention I'm drawing towards them. And that's because when I was a teenager, I didn't have somewhere to go.
No.
I didn't know. I had my first major depression when I was 15. I had an eating disorder when I was a kid. I didn't know how to get help. And I think people just at that time didn't know how to notice the kids that needed help.
Right.
And I had a lot of other things going on, like I was in a band that was touring, so there was a lot of optically that looked like everything was A-okay, but I was really struggling and I didn't know where to go. And so when I see what CHHA.org is doing, they're enabling teenagers at that prime time that they need the coping skills.
No kidding.
Exactly. And they're destigmatizing it by empowering youth to talk to other youth, to teach them. So it's youth to youth knowledge, and I just think it's beautiful.
Like
and
peer help. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Now CHHA.org, is that in Toronto, LA? Is it North America?
It's across Canada.
Across Canada. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So helping kids right across from sea to shining sea.
It's really wonderful what they're doing. And when my friend Jesse Heyman works for him, and when his cousin, an old friend of mine, passed away, Alicia Heyman, it was because of mental health and addiction. And at that time, I was also struggling with mental health. And when she passed away, it really, even though I hadn't spoken to her in years, I was recently been trying to get in touch with her, and it broke my heart and the whole Jewish community who knew her and everybody who loved her. And I really just wanted to do whatever I could to get involved with CHHA.org. And since then, I found my way of sharing my story through my own story, through my music, and in this Pain into Power campaign. And it's been a challenging experience, but really liberating at the same time.
So Pain into Power. Now, how can people they can go to your website, which says X.ARI official.com. So the X.ARI official.com. If they go there, they can find out more about Pain into Power. Campaign.
And they can look up my self-care tips, which I've taken tons and tons of hours. It took me,
They're amazing.
Thank you.
Holy moly. Any therapist who doesn't have all those at hand, X.ARI has done it for you.
I'm not claiming to be
no, it's really good.
a professional of any sorts. I'm just sharing, because I think sometimes it can be intimidating when you get a long list from a doctor. You should go to your doctor if you need help. Absolutely. But sometimes it's good to hear with somebody who's gone through a tragedy or traumatic or crisis in their life and what specifically helped them. So I wanted to put basically like a Coles Notes cheat sheet, where if somebody does not feel well enough that they can't go help themselves like I felt when I couldn't help myself, so that they can go and look. And I made it easy with hyperlinks and bolded items, so whatever resonates with them, they can try out and of course always seek a professional. But I just wanted to make like a one home place where people feel like they can go and draw some ideas.
And it's there for all over the world, because we actually have listeners worldwide here who are tuning in right now to CHHA 1610 AM. Yes.
Hey world.
So, yes, you've got things for the EU, for the States, for all over the place, UK. So it's like, this is an amazing resource for the Western world.
Yes, I'm doing my best to make it
as
worldwide.
I say the Western world because, there's China. for the Eastern, for everybody. Oh, yeah, no, you've done such a super, super job. We've got to go to break. It goes really fast. We're going to be playing Teacher.
Yes.
When we come back. So can you give a little bit of backstory to that before we go, so that people can,
So Teachers, I wrote about sexual inequality and how, typically for a long time boys were encouraged to be sexually exploratory. Boys were encouraged and girls are told to keep their legs shut. And I just think that it doesn't make sense, for a father to say, hey son, go get them girls, and then tell their daughter, don't wear that, don't leave. And this father's son is going to get their friend's daughter. So it's this weird cycle. It's like, why can't we just all be equal? There's no harm and no shame in that. I'm not saying people should be promiscuous. I'm just saying there should be equality and no shame involved for growing into a sexual being. We all have
natural, yeah.
So I just want that natural, and so it's about equality and empowerment, and it recently won the Indie International Songwriting Contest.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Mazel tov. L'chaim. Anyway, we're going to go to break now. We're going to hear Teachers when we come back. That's X.ARI, Daniella Waters. Oh, I always want to say Waters. I should know this. That's part of the name of my...
It's always easier when we sing things.
It is so much easier. Daniella Waters, X.ARI, right after this.
You are listening to Radio Voces Latinas, 1610 AM. A drink of water.
Teacher told me hide away that skin. TV taught me sexy always wins. Small girls with big minds, we grew up torn. Be stronger, be wiser, but don't be who you are. I don't care what people say, throw a little dirt on me. Time I play by my own rules. If it's good for you, it's good for me. I'm gonna be a dirty girl downtown who gets around with dirty boys uptown, who only like them dirty girls downtown, who only mess with dirty boys uptown. Heal this makeshift hunters through and through. Play boys, big toys, can I play with you? You're judging me and jewelry, what did I do wrong? Your freedom is power, and I want it all. I don't care what people say, throw a little dirt on me. Time I play by my own rules. If it's good for you, it's good for me. I'm gonna be a dirty girl downtown who gets around with dirty boys uptown, who only like them dirty girls downtown, downtown. You told me to be stronger, be wiser, but don't be who you are. Be stronger, be wiser, but don't be who you are. I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'll be who you are. I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'll be who you are. I'm gonna be a dirty girl downtown who gets around with dirty boys uptown, who only like them dirty girls downtown, who only mess with dirty boys uptown. I'm gonna be a dirty girl downtown who gets around with dirty boys uptown, who only like them dirty girls downtown, who only mess with dirty boys uptown. I'm gonna be a dirty girl. A dirty girl, yeah, baby, don't judge me, a dirty girl.
And if you're just tuning in, you're listening to CHHA 1610 AM. I'm Joyce Aldrich, and this is A Drink of Water. And in studio, we have X.ARI, who is also known as Daniella Waters. And you just heard her song, Teachers. And Daniella, you've got a new single being released this Friday. And boy, I really am sorry we couldn't have played it tonight. But you know, I understand a release date is a release date.
Yes.
So, and you gotta stay strong with that. So, I hope you, as soon as that's released, I get the MP3 and I'm going to be playing it. You know?
Oh, I love that.
Okay. So tell us more about your new release.
So this next song is called Stay V Go, coming out on Friday, and really what it boils down to is about the confidence to be vulnerable. And it's in a situation for a relationship where you're saying, you know, stay and accept what it is, or go, and either way, things are going to be fine. So I think to find love and to find yourself, you have to be vulnerable, and this whole experience for me, channeling pain into power and telling my story about mental health, has taken a lot of vulnerability. So,
no kidding.
And I also need to have a little fun too, right? So the song is a fun one because my channel words are raw, empowering, emotional, and I recently realized I got to add some fun into it because everybody just wants to smile, and I want to brighten people's hearts.
It's true, and unfortunately with mental health, I mean, really, it's the downward spiral. That's the way people keep describing it, or the manic, you know, highs, and it's like, come on, you know, like this. There is some balance in it as well. You know, people who have mental health issues, mental illness. You know, we're not a bunch of downers, and we're not always high or low. But you know, there is the fun involved, and it's not what defines a person either.
Exactly. It's just something you deal with. I see it as like separate from ourselves, in the sense of like when I'm experiencing anxiety, I go, this is anxiety.
Yes.
I deal with anxiety. I deal with ADHD. I deal with post-traumatic stress, insomnia, sleep paralysis, obsession challenges. I've had an acute psychosis in a hospital. Who knows if it was because of the medication or the hospital experience. It's hard to really differentiate at this point.
Sure.
But when I went through that, it was probably one of the most traumatic times of my life. And that was in November 2016 to December 2016. And it took me a lot of time to heal and then find a way to talk about it. And I went to a rehab center. I didn't have addiction problems, but I did use drugs as a teenager and throughout like young adulthood because I didn't know how to cope. And that's, again, why I want people to know you don't need to turn to drugs. You need to turn inside. You need to grab onto your internal handlebars, reach out to the sources you have around you for support, not drugs, because drugs, they just mess with your mind even more. And if you're not clear-headed, that's the last thing you need when you deal with mental health challenges.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. That is it, and the coping skills, you know. So that's why we need the skills, and that's why on your website. So if they go to xariofficial.com, you'll find things like self-affirmation lists, and you're going to be having some merch come out as well.
Yes, it's my first merch ever, so I'm so excited, Joyce.
Probably because it has meaning, right? Merch with meaning. Something,
exactly.
Not just a T-shirt and a ball cap and you know, a USB key or something you give out to people with your music. It's like,
you've nailed it. It's really exactly like the Pain into Power campaign is giving me meaning. I wake up going, I'm turning something that's hurting me, that I'm still getting flashbacks about, that I'm still struggling with. I'm sharing that through my music and letting people know they're not alone and that we're in it together. And it gives me such purpose. And I think if I wasn't able to find that, I don't know where I'd be. So, and this journal is called
the journal.
It's called the Pain into Power Reflection Journal.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And so I'm just really excited to finish putting it together. It's coming out this month for Mental Health Month, which partial proceeds are going to CHHA.org. And I got CHARI pencils that will come for free with it. And I'm also making 2 candles. One's called Calm, lavender. The other one's Unwind, and it's eucalyptus scent.
Beautiful.
And I also have... I do have T-shirts and long sleeves because it's part of the tradition.
That's okay. That's merch, but you know what I'm saying. I like the long sleeves. That's an idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
So we all get cold in Canada. We need some long sleeves, not just a T-shirt.
That's for us old gals with the arm thing, you know.
I love the arm thing.
You know, I just gotta have the long sleeves. Anyway, I'll be wearing your
beautiful
T-shirt.
arm thing.
The beautiful arm thing. But yes, and that's the thing, being vulnerable again, you know, and loving who you are no matter what, because all kinds of things tip people's scales, you know, and send them over into that abyss of mental illness and mental disorders and whatever. And it starts young. It really does start young. So you're helping the youth through CHHA.org is excellent.
They're amazing. they say it all themselves, on their website. If you check it out, jack.org, like they just do amazing things. So if you know anybody who needs help and you want to get involved with them, reach out to them, because like that's exactly what I needed. And so I didn't get that, so I'm trying to give back what I needed to people who need it now. And then and also, like, I'm doing Self-Care Sundays, which is, like, this whole new YouTube series for me. I'm doing as many Sundays as I can as possible where I dig into specific self-care tips on my site.
Okay, we're going to hang on to that because we have to go to break again. So
okay.
I like that little cliffhanger there, like the self-help tips. And the YouTube, that's a super, super duper idea. So we're here with X.ARI, Daniella Waters, and she's talking about mental health and her Pain into Power campaign and her disc.order. We're going to talk about her EP coming out May 31st. Lots of stuff happening for this wonderful gal. And we'll be back right after these messages and talk more with X.ARI. You're going to hear a lot about her. Yeah.
You are listening to Radio Voces Latinas, 1610 AM. A drink of water.
Roll you in my fingertips, feel guilty a little bit tonight. Use my tongue to like the glue, back your tail, no residue, all mine. Cause I'm disposable to you, and I can be right to that too. Please do whenever you feel you like. And you got all the money, yeah. Run through it like water, sinking your teeth deep into every bite. Now you got me lit quick, pull me to your lips, hey, say you'll never quit, yeah, don't do it. Seal me with a matchstick, burn into a tragic, vapor into ashes. Don't you never put me out. Don't you never put me out. Don't you never put me out. Smoke you like my cigarette, pull you in low and push you out. Inhaling your silhouette, feel your stingration down the throat. Cause I'm disposable to you, and I can be right to love too. Please do whenever you feel you like. And you got all the money, yeah. Run through it like water, sinking your teeth deep into every bite. Now you got me lit quick, pull me to your lips, hey, say you'll never quit, don't do it. Seal me with a matchstick, burn into a tragic, vapor into ashes. Don't you never put me out. Don't you never put me out. Don't you never put me out. You're dispensable to me, and you can end my life, kill me, throw me to the earth and don't look back. And you stick like Ronnie, you go through me like body spread. In ourselves and into we both crash. Now you got me lit quick, pull me to your lips, hey, say you'll never quit, don't do it. Seal me with a matchstick, burn into a tragic, vapor into ashes. Don't you never put me out.
And that's Vapors, and that's by X.ARI. And if you go to her XARIofficial.com site, XARIofficial.com, that's what it's called, you can find out a lot about X.ARI, who's also known as Daniella Waters, and you can get her music there. You can hear more music, and it's just a marvelous trip all around. If you're having some doubts, you're having some mental health challenges, certainly there's a lot of wonderful suggestions on there. Now, before we went to break, Daniella, we talked about your Self-Care Sunday series, videos.
Yes, so
Tell us about that.
It's really new for me, and I'm excited to put the next one together. It's about how to increase happiness.
Yeah.
And the last couple
Everyone wants that.
We all want
what
that.
What the heck? Go for it.
So I'm doing my best to put that together as soon as possible.
Yeah.
For the next one. The last few are about self-affirmations. For specifically the ones I work on are for self-love, because, when we're going through difficult times, we can really get upset with ourselves and, fight against ourselves and put pressure to be perfect. And so I want to remove all of that. And I never want anybody to feel that way.
We don't do that. Who does that?
You know what? I should talk about myself only then.
I'm just joking.
Anyway.
I mean, are you the only imperfect person in the world? I don't know. I'm just joking.
I know, yeah. I needed to personally work on self-love.
But people walk around like there's nothing going on. And that's hard too, and people don't admit that there's something going on. So
exactly.
That's hard
and,
for everyone.
The affirmations that work great for me are really self-love based.
Yeah.
They help me kind of accept the recent trauma I went through and just be my own biggest supporter and just love myself more. It's been really phenomenal for boosting my confidence, allowing me to talk about things so openly.
It's a great tool.
Yes, and in the mirror, it's a perfect place for it because you get to be so close to yourself and really just look in your own eyes and be as kind as possible and give yourself affirmations. Like one of mine is, I'm a powerful, dynamic woman. Every part of my body functions perfectly. I love me.
Wow.
And I say that in the mirror. And to some, that might sound like, you're getting into yourself too much. But that's wrong. You need to love yourself the most, because if you can love yourself the most and take good care of yourself, you can attract healthy relationships in your life, and all the things come to you when you are at ease in your skin and when you really fully accept who you are and give yourself eternal, unconditional love.
So agree with you. When you truly love yourself, and I'm not talking about narcissistic love.
Exactly.
Certainly, like really good, solid, good common sense love.
Exactly.
I mean, you're going to be good for everybody. Absolutely. And speaking about being good for everybody, you got a short film coming out called Grace. What is that? That's like, I think of the word grace, and by the grace of,
It's a very powerful word, grace.
It's a huge word.
It really
it's
is.
Right up there with love,
It really is. One of my best friends in Los Angeles named Lily, she came up with the name Grace, and it was perfect. And Dan Abramovici, he's a writer, director. He recently had his actually feature film called Ben's at Home on Netflix.
Okay.
And he graduated the Canadian Film Conservatory, and he did a wonderful job at writing a short film that I specifically asked him to focus on mental health. I didn't have an exact story. I just said, what, can you put together a short film that we can, use to promote more mental health awareness?
Yeah.
I don't want to be in it. I want to tell a story of someone else and put my music in it. So what it's about is about a young family with a father going through severe depression, and it's through the eyes of his young 7-year-old daughter.
Oh, my gosh.
And the cast, Matthew and Serafina and Kelly and Dan, everybody did such a wonderful job. I wish I could name call everyone, but they know how appreciative I am of how well it came together. It was
do it at the awards ceremony.
Let's get there. So we submitted to a bunch of film festivals, and we're hoping to, do a festival run. And at the end of it, we have, slides on some World Health Organization facts about depression, and again, hotlines to call. And I really just wanted to add a visual component aside from a music video that supports the mental health message.
When you talked about a young father with young children, I happen to know somebody who is a young father with depression and with young children, and is waiting 50 15 months to get in to see a psychiatrist. That's how long this person has been given. In the meantime, this person has to go to work, support his family, be there for them. I don't need to even go through all the motions here with what he needs to go through, but he has to wait 15 months to see someone. That is ridiculous. The waiting times are horrid.
I'm angry.
I'm
so
furious. I'm
angry.
incensed.
And it's a huge problem in Canada.
Yeah.
And I'm 150% supporter, and there's this big gap in mental health care that's needed. And
Huge.
I personally went to CAMH for inpatient, and it was so traumatic for me.
Did they offer you Ativan? No, seriously, I understand, because I went in there with my borderline, having a horrible episode, and they said, we can't help people like you. In the meantime, they had the borderline personality disorder clinic in the 3rd floor in the other building, but because they had a 3-year wait, they weren't going to give me that information.
It's so unfair. What are you going to do?
I had to go through a research study group to get in the front of the line. And that was only because I went on YouTube and found a doctor who was doing a study on borderline and said, yeah, you come on down, and I got first in line.
And thank Hashem that you're able to,
Baruch Hashem.
That you're able to, go and fight and find what you need. There's some people who can't even fathom that energy.
Exactly.
And then if you don't have the energy to fathom, to help yourself, or the access to it, where does it break? And that's why there's so much homelessness and so much addiction. And whenever I see someone who's homeless, I feel like I'm so lucky. I have people around me. I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
But where I was at KMH, I went in one way. I went in just needing a good rest. I was having post-traumatic stress and other things.
Sure.
But I went in really just needing to be taken care of.
Yeah, respite, they call it there. Yeah.
Exactly. And when I went in, it was completely traumatic. Everything scared the daylights out of me.
You ended up having the psychotic episode there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It didn't happen before I got there, and then they just kept shoving drugs down my throat. And I actually went there with a surgery. I just had got a deviated septum repair. Oh. It's the second time I had to get it.
Your nose looks beautiful, darling.
Oh, thanks. It's really the functionality.
I know it's a septum. I have the same thing. It's just nasty.
So I got hit in the face accidentally as a kid, and I had to get it corrected when I was 8. And then again, in 2016, and it was really traumatic for me because I went in really kind of vulnerable in a state after just going through my own mental health challenges. So I went in with the flu, and I ended up waking up kind of in a very bad state. I went in crying, and I woke up crying, and I couldn't snap out of it.
Oh my gosh.
And then when I went to KMH, thinking I'd get help there, maybe I'll sleep, they didn't let me take care of my surgery. They treated me like I wanted to put something else up my nose. And I was so frightened. They took away my antibiotics. I had an infection.
Oh, no.
And so I just felt like these people aren't helping me. I got so scared. I just kept staying up. And then I had an acute psychosis in there, which was very traumatizing to remember any little tidbit of it, which I'm constantly reminded by.
I think you said you stayed up 3 days just because you didn't want to. Was that?
I was scared.
You were scared to go to sleep. Yeah.
I was scared, and I was scared. I didn't feel safe there.
Hard.
It's not a very conducive place for healing. Where when you need to heal, you need maybe comfort. Yeah. And it scared me, and it put me into a post-traumatic stress where I felt like I was 7 years old, 8 years old, like I was back in the hospital with the first surgery, and I reenacted when I fainted. Yeah. When I was 8 years old, I fainted in the hospital after I had a surgery, and
so
I reenacted
had a trigger.
It. And I was literally reenacting everything as if it was happening like I was 8 years old, but no one could know that because I can't tell them that. And
not
instead,
when you're in it. Not
exactly.
It's impossible because you're there.
Exactly. And they just misdiagnosed me, and then I was put on a bunch of medication. And I understand why that misdiagnosis happened, and I can't blame anybody other than the system not having enough support for there to give you adequate time to really assess you and give enough length of time, because sometimes 15 minutes isn't enough to get a full picture.
And that's what you usually get. I mean, that's what I got from a doctor who ended up putting me, after 15 minutes, decided that Tegretol was a good thing, thing for me, which they give to epileptics. Anyway, and I shouldn't have been on any drugs at all, but it's a long story. We could go like for hours about this, but definitely the system has to change, and we've come a long way in 100 years.
We have.
You know, from the days of Bedlam and all that kind of stuff, and the horrible mental health the asylums, as they call them, but still, and, you know, wrapping people in wet sheets and da-da-da-da-da, all kinds of things. But we're not there yet.
Yes, there's a long way to go.
The stigma attached to it is just phenomenal. You know, it's and what you're doing, seriously, Daniella, X.ARI. I love that.
I love when you talk like that.
I love you, X.ARI. Anyway, what you're doing is so phenomenal. It's where your music has brought you to, where your experience has brought you. And I don't think it's great that you went through what you did at CAMH. However, you know, it may just everything happens for a reason, and I hate to put it that way, but you know what? Sometimes we just need that push, you know, to say, yes, that's why I'm here. This. I'm going to turn this into
power.
Yeah,
pain into power. That's exactly.
Yes, pain into power. Let me get back to that. Pain into power campaign. There you are.
Everything you're saying is that's exactly what I'm doing. Is taking pain, flipping it. It's like a teardrop, and you flip it over into a light bulb. Right. You know, and find the meaning in your sadness. Find the meaning in your tragedy. That's all you can do with it. That's the best you can do with it. And then the more I share, the more other people don't feel alone, the more they reach out to me, and then I don't feel alone. It's this giving, healing, and helping process that I'm so grateful for, and I really hope to connect a lot of people with it, and that we can make changes by making more awareness and just spread more self-love and light and love around the world.
Amen. Well, we've known each other for several years, and neither one of us knew we were going through this.
I know, because we don't want to talk about it.
No, well, you don't, because you don't know what people are going to say, yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are on radio, telling the world. So it's 8:45. We're going to go into break, but before we do, can you just give me a little bit of backstory for Pretty Little Villains, which we'll be playing right after break.
So, quick snapshot about that.
Yeah.
I was devastated after reading about a human trafficking incident. I find I get really emotional by the news. Me
too. I understand. Yeah. It's like I'm kind of ignorant in a way, which sometimes doesn't work well at cocktail parties. But how about those leaves?
But that being said, I read an incident about a 14-year-old girl who went through a human trafficking incident, and it broke my heart. And I just thought, who are these people? Like, who do these people think they are, that they can hold a young person captive? Anybody, human trafficking, any of that shouldn't, it was a shout out to all the D-bags who need to be put in their place, and an empowerment anthem for anybody who feels like they've been taken advantage of in any matter, whether it's that serious or just an unhealthy relationship, domestic abuse, or you know, an unhealthy boss, whatever it is. I wanted to create an anthem for people to go, you know, here you go, to the D-bags out there. Yeah. This song's for you, and let's stop creating these people. Let's change the world and end that.
And you know what? Canada, beautiful Canada, is right up there as a go-to place for child pornography, for human trafficking. We are in the top, I think, we're way up there in the top, the top percentage for people who want to do that kind of stuff. Come to Canada. No, don't you dare.
Don't come here.
X.ARI, and I'm here, and a lot of other people. We don't want you here. Go away. Anyway, it's 8:47. We're going to go to break, and we'll be back with Pretty Little Villains. And, right after this.
CHHA 1610 AM.
You are listening to Radio Voces Latinas, 1610 AM. A drink of water.
I don't care about your diamond life, Belvedere, plastic frowns, and your VIPs. To all your sweet talkers, don't hypocrite and violate. You ain't right, ain't right. preaching from your pedestal. Another blonde, another kill, another broken heart. Well, it's time you took a fall. I'm gonna be the spark. Set it right, and right. Oh, every girl's tasted a pound of your flesh and lost it all. So thank you for being the poison that wrote the song. This is for all you pretty little villains. Just back to my town. Get out the women trying to bring me down now, yeah. Don't bring me down now, yeah. To all you pretty little villains. Just back to my town. It's all girls' feelings. Watch me beat you down now, yeah. Gonna beat you down. I'm still looking for a gentleman and escape into love without consequence. But the echoes of my voice have been lost again. That ain't right, no, ain't right. You always turn up in the darkest light. Shitty eyes, mirror balls in the bathroom stall. It's so hard how you broke my better life tonight. That ain't right, no, ain't right. Oh, every girl's tasted a pound of your flesh and love it all. So thank you for being the poison that wrote the song. This is for all you pretty little villains. Just back to my town. Get out the women trying to bring me down now, yeah. Don't bring me down now, yeah. To all you pretty little villains. Just back to my town. It's all girls' feelings. Watch me beat you down now, yeah. Gonna beat you down now, yeah. Whoa, whoa. No, nothing gonna bring you down. No, nothing gonna bring you down. You gonna bring me down now, hey. Whoa, whoa. No, nothing gonna bring you down. No, nothing gonna bring you down. You gonna bring me down now, hey. To all you pretty little villains, just back to my town. Get out the women trying to bring me down now, yeah. You can bring me down now, yeah. To all you pretty little villains, just back to my town. It's all girls' feelings. Want to beat you down now, yeah. Gonna beat you down now, yeah.
Pretty Little Villains. It's 8:52 here at CHHA 1610 AM, and that was X.ARI, Daniella Waters, singing Pretty Little Villains. And oh my gosh, I'm telling you, Daniella, it is an interesting world we're living in, but certainly, it's wonderful when people turn, like you said, their pain to power, into power, and that's your Pain into Power campaign, and that we can all do that in some way. It doesn't, big or small, it doesn't take much.
And it doesn't have to be something so large, like you said. It could be as simple as you have anxiety, let's say. I'm going to say I'm experiencing anxiety, and so I could either get crippled by it, or I can put it into something. Maybe I put that energy into learning a new skill. Maybe I put that energy going into just a workout class and doing intense exercise so I can get it out of my body instead of letting it defeat me, to use it.
Absolutely.
And it starts in that kind of place. It's the small things, the medium things, the big things. There's no pressure for it to be anything large, is whatever it means to you.
Well, I've been taking a class lately with this marvelous teacher, Rebbe Joyce and Deborah Vale, and we're talking about midot and the things that we have, which are our traits. Like we have negative traits and we have positive traits, and we can turn those negatives into the positives, and our positives we can turn into even more. And it's that kind of thing. So
same thing,
that energy. Yeah,
same thing, different way of saying it. It's 100%. It's about turning weaknesses into strengths. There's nothing wrong being weak. There's no such thing if you are able to rise above and turn it into something. And I think being vulnerable and allowing yourself to share your story, or just opening up to a friend and getting the strength you need so you don't crack. That strength.
I know.
And I repressed for years and years and years, and I'm in this big catharsis now. It's new for me to cry a lot. It's new for me to do these things. And wow, a weight has been lifted.
A huge weight. I agree with you. I did the DBT thing, finally got into that at CAMH.
Fantastic.
And you were talking about tips, skills earlier and all that. It's fantastic. And everybody could use it. Every human being on the planet could use dialectical behavioral therapy. It's
exactly, or CBT, whatever works.
Whatever works. Take a look at it. Hey, you might be, pleasantly surprised. We're going out, and I've got a couple of a couple of wonderful announcements to make. So I'm going to thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joyce.
Just maybe a couple of, about a minute, last words.
I'd love to say to anybody who's struggling, anybody who feels like they're at their last thread, hang on, you're not. You have the strength inside you. You're made to have the fight and resources. You're in this world because you're supposed to be in it. Hang on. Know that you're going to see the light, and keep working on making a better life for yourself if it's in a dark place. And if you're in a light place, appreciate that moment and give it a lot of gratitude, and just have patience with yourself with the ups and the downs. I've had to learn that myself, and I just want to spread as much love as possible and know you're not alone.
And your EP is coming. Your EP.
Just dash order May 31st.
And you're going to have your party at Sayers Dance Club in L.A.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's so cool because Prince has played there a few times.
I know. I'm sitting there, holy moly, look what she's going to be.
So I'm super excited to play there, and I'll have my merch for the first time. It's going to be available online. I still am waiting on an exact date, but it's looking like mid to late May. I'll be announcing on my website, and I can't wait to connect with people and provide more self-care outlets. And just thank you so much for having me, Joyce, and for being brave and sharing about your BBT, because borderline is one of those most stigmatized disorders, and we need to change that. And so I'm just so proud of you for opening up.
Well, thank you very much. Well, here we go out, and I want to say we've got Mother's Day coming up. We really do every year, May 12th, and at 2781 Dufferin Street, we're going to have beautiful artists in singing. And bring your mother. Let's celebrate on her day, and that'll be at 7 o'clock on May 12th here at 2981 Dufferin Street. And of course, Inti Raymi, often called Inti Rainy because it rains sometimes, but Inti Raymi, that's going to be a wonderful summer solstice festival, Saturday, June 23rd, and Sundays, June 24th, and that's 12 to 9 and 12 to 6, and that'll be here at 2999 Dufferin Street at the Fieldstone Day School. Listen for more advertisements about that on here at CHHA 1610 AM, where we are your community station. Thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the Punjabi show coming on next. We are a multicultural radio station. Lots of great programming. Okay, and thank you, Daniella.
Thank you, Joyce.
X.ARI.